A senior stakeholder once said about me, she's not a charismatic leader. And I assume that's because I'm introverted, quiet, and that label stuck not because it was true, but because perception got there first. And today we take back those first moments and use them to open the doors you deserve. So, hi everyone, my name is Limor Bergman Gross. I'm a former director of engineering, and for the past 5.5 years, I'm an executive coach, and I coach women in tech leadership. And my mission is supporting women and have more women grow to executive roles. And I started this podcast 2.5 years ago, From a Woman to a Leader. And this podcast is about helping women in tech be seen, be heard, and be promoted without burning out or becoming someone you are not. And I'm so excited to share with you my guest today. Her name is Sylvie di Giusto. She is a New York-based Austrian professional speaker. She's a consultant and author known for her work on first impressions and executive branding. And she's the author of The Image of Leadership, and she teaches leaders how to package themselves so they stand out for the right reasons. And she says in her keynotes, and I highly recommend you to go to her YouTube channel and watch. She has a mind-blowing keynote. She said in 7 seconds, someone forms a perception about you, whether it's true or not. And in the episode, we break down Sylvie's ABCDE of perception: appearance, behavior, communication, and digital footprint. Plus, how to align your online presence with the leader you want people to meet in the first 7 seconds. So what you'll learn today is tiny behavioral cues that signal leadership without pretending, how to fine-tune charisma so it still feels like you, the digital moves to protect opportunities, own your name everywhere, audit Google page 1, and when to care and mentor behind closed doors and lead on the floor. So I hope I piqued your interest. And if you're ready to be perceived as the leader you already are, stay with me and Sylvie for the upcoming 30 plus minutes discussion. I'm sure you're gonna gain a ton of wisdom. So are you ready? Let's dive right in. Hi Sylvie, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, much better now that I am with such a wonderful, fantastic, smart, powerful, passionate woman like you, Limor.
Thank you so much. And I'm grateful for you to be a guest here because I've seen your YouTube channel and the keynotes that you're doing in conference. This is like mind-blowing, like what you're doing. So I'm super impressed, first of all. And I want to invite, before we even start the conversation, I want to invite all our guests today to look on your YouTube channel, and I will make sure to put that in the show notes so you can see what Sylvie is doing and what I'm talking about. This is super, super impressive.
Thank you. It only took 4 years. It only took 4 years to develop it.
Right? I mean, and I think this is kind of, you mentioned something that I also want to touch on. So, because the thing is that people see other people's success and what they do. And like, obviously you are like very inspiring. And then they say, well, it took me only 4 years to get there. So it's like, they don't see all the hard work that takes until you get to where you get.
Exactly. The overnight success only took 4 years, and before that, 20 years of preparing for those 4 years.
I love it. I love it. So we're going to talk about something that I think is going to be super, super powerful for any woman in corporate: the power of perception. And I know you have a system, and you talk about, first of all, you talk about the 7 seconds. Tell us a little bit about what are those 7 seconds exactly?
Yes. So I'm in the business of first impressions. I help professionals in organizations understand what their first impression says about them and what impact it has on the way they are perceived. Now, truth to be told, those 7 seconds I take from a study. One of the studies that I use from my work, which says that we make up to 11 major decisions in those 7 seconds. We instantly decide if somebody is knowledgeable or not, trustworthy or not, reliable or not, successful or not. We even think about their religious beliefs, their political opinions. But can I share a secret with you, Limor?
Yes, please do.
It really doesn't matter if it's 11 decisions, if it's 7 seconds. because there are plenty of other studies out there. Some say it takes 13 seconds, some say it takes milliseconds, some say it's 11 decisions, others say it's 6 decisions. But they have all one thing in common, and that is that it happens automatically, and that it has nothing to do with the fact if you are a good human being or not, if you want to do it or not, if you are in your body or in the body of Mother Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
Fact is, we all do it. We see each other, we experience each other, and we judge each other. We think that we know something about each other just by the way how we perceive another human being.
Yeah. And this is very, very important because how we are perceived can impact a lot about
Mhm.
what opportunities do we get, whether we are business owners or employees. And I know
Yes.
firsthand how it is because I had a lot of biases against me. So I want to help other women. I want us to help other women to think about how they are perceived and how they can change it. So you're talking about like 7 seconds or whatever, which is a first impression of someone who doesn't know you.
Yes, and then you just mentioned it. Unfortunately, after those first micro moments, a variety of biases is either working against you or for you. At the current moment, science knows about around 185 biases. One of the most powerful, for example, is confirmation bias. Our brain just wants to be right. Humans don't like to be wrong. That's
Yeah.
why we are looking for confirmation. And we ignore anything that goes against our first initial opinion. But then anchoring bias kicks in. Our brain automatically anchors onto the first piece of information that we have and cannot let go of it, even if that first piece of information is totally irrelevant, or especially if it's incorrect, because humans also have a tendency to always see the things that are wrong first before the things that they are correct. That is negativity bias. I could go on and on and on to give you examples. Let me share a story from my personal life.
Yeah.
I am married to a German husband, German mathematician, engineer who works in finance and IT. So you can imagine how our household is run. It's probably the best family logistics center in the United States. Everything has to be sorted and organized in a very particular way. While I'm Spanish, Italian, French, and Austrian in my family, my multicultural background. So as long as I have wine and cheese in my refrigerator, my life is just okay. However, I happen to be that wife that goes to the refrigerator, takes out a bottle of sparkling water, drinks some sparkling water, and when I put it back in, I don't put the cap on as appropriately as my German mathematician engineer husband would expect me to. I leave it a little bit open, and every time it turns into an argument. And he finds everything in our home that I leave open. But he never sees the things that are close, and I do
Mm.
close things. It's a variety of biases working against me. So if you in an organization imprinted on your boss, on senior leadership, on an employee, on a customer, on any type of stakeholder that, for example, you are too emotional, then unfortunately from that moment they will find hints and signs and cues wherever they are to confirm their initial opinion that you are too emotional, and
Mm-hmm.
ignore any signs that go against that first initial opinion. They will anchor on that first initial opinion because they just cannot let go. Or if somebody else might be a totally irrelevant person that has no influence on your career also mentions something that sounds similar about you, then the bandwagon effect kicks in, because if somebody else also says something similar, then it must be true. rather than creating their own opinion, right?
Yeah.
And as scary as this is, Limor, it's also a huge opportunity, because if you intentionally craft that perception at the very beginning, if you define how you would like to be perceived, then unconscious biases work in your favor. If you decide, for example, as a leader in technology, I want to be perceived as more creative, as just as an example, and we work together on how would that look like in those first moments? How would that feel like? How would that sound like? Then all those unconscious biases also work in your favor, because they are going to subconsciously find cues and patterns everywhere that you are really that creative person that you strategically imprinted in them from the very first moment.
Okay, so you're saying basically we have to be conscious about how we want to be perceived,
Mhm.
and then what can we do, show, tell, whatever,
Mhm.
to imprint that initial impression.
Yes, yes. And I use a model called the ABCDE. Very, very simple to remember,
Okay,
to
let's
imprint.
learn this model.
Yes. The A stands for your appearance, the way you look. Like it or not, humans are very visual creatures. They just look at you and they think they know something about you. The brain is actually quite lazy. It doesn't like to work. That's why it takes a shortcut through your eyes. So when you go to work in your organization, what do people actually see? From your body image, your clothes, your hair, your accessories, your makeup, your entire style. What is the visual picture that you create? Does it say creativity, for example, or does it say something else? And this is not about fashion, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is more about the visual message that you send every single day. Because in those first micro moments, truth to be told, very often we can't say a lot of. We just walk into a room, you walk into a board meeting, you just walk along the hallways and people see you and they think that they know something about you. But to be very clear, looking good is great, but it's not enough, because then there is your B for your behavioral intelligence, your behavior, how you interact, your attitude. Is it positive? Is it negative? Because your attitude speaks before you ever open your mouth. It speaks louder than any words. Your emotional intelligence. Do you have charisma? Do people notice when you enter the room? How about your conflict management skills? How about your morals and your ethics, the decisions that you make, especially when nobody is watching? How about your social interactions? Do you shake hands? Do you look people into their eyes? Do you let them sit down first or last? Those micro moments that might not matter to you, but might be a great deal to others.
So I want to stop you for a second because I want to give you an example from my real life, okay?
Yes, please.
I interviewed for a management positions many years ago. Eventually I got it, but in hindsight I learned that one of the key stakeholders didn't want to hire me because he thought I'm not a charismatic leader.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm very introverted person, like I'm not like a natural charismatic, like you would imagine. My style, as you see, very casual, like I'm not like any fashion sense or like this is who I am. And let's say I want to get to this interview and I want them to think I am a charismatic leader.
Hmm. Hmm.
What? So you talked about first appearance.
Yeah.
What would I do in order to appear charismatic?
Well, there is always a fine balance between, do you agree with this opinion or do you disagree? I'm not a big fan of trying to be somebody you don't want to be, because then you come along inauthentic. And
Mm-hmm.
this is something people can smell from far away. But if you say, I agree. Probably I want to tune up my charisma just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I would work with you on your appearance, on your behavior, and on your communication, but fine tuning it in a way that it still feels authentic to you. That wouldn't mean that we totally change your appearance, but
Mm-hmm.
what in your appearance could we add that people notice
So
that
what
you
would it
enter the
look
room?
like? What would it
It
look like,
might
for example?
look like jewelry. Is there a piece of jewelry that is louder, that is bolder, where people just stop and look and see you? What would
Okay.
it be in your communication? The C, are we going to add a phrase when you enter the room? Is it maybe your voice? Does it have to be louder? Is it the words that you choose that we have to work on your language palette? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm never a big fan of trying to change somebody because then you become inauthentic. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, fine tuning, simple things, tiny things that help you to be more confident in achieving that goal of being more charismatic. Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're saying like, okay, be conscious about my appearance and trying maybe to put something that makes me stand out or create some kind of attention,
Yes.
but feel still comfortable to me and represent me, right? I don't want to dress like someone I'm not.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
How would my behavior change? Like, let's say, as I said, like I'm introverted, I'm not like the most, I'm not extroverted by no means. Like, I
Mhm.
enter a room, what some behavioral cues would I want to pay attention to so people
Mhm.
will see me as someone who is a leader?
Well, it's very often that the tiny elements. Where will you stand? Will you be the first one sitting down? Will you be the last one sitting down? Will you be the one choosing your chair? Will you wait until somebody invites you to the table? Those are all just
Mm.
micro decisions. You know, in my corporate career at the very beginning, I always, for example, as a woman in leadership, and I wasn't even in leadership, and maybe that was a reason why I didn't make it to leadership. I had what I nowadays call the busy bee challenge. I took great pride into being the busiest person in the office who took care of everything and everybody. So when I entered the room, I instantly took care of everybody in the room. That's what I was known for. Does everybody have coffee? Does everybody have the documents? Is everybody ready? And I was the last one who sat down for a meeting. That doesn't speak leadership. That doesn't speak power. I had to stop behaviors like that. I was the first one who came into the office. I was the last one who left the office. And everybody knew in leadership and beyond that no matter what landed on my desk will be taken care of. I was known for being the hard worker, but I wasn't known for a specific skill. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't known for anything where they could promote me towards to because I did everything and anything. Right? So I needed to change my behaviors so that they had clarity in what I'm really good at, and that I also have the stamina of a leader who doesn't take care of the cookies and the coffee for everybody in the room.
Yeah, this is a very good example, Sylvie, because I think many women tend to be, we want to help others, we want to be
Mhm.
like the one with making sure everyone, as you said, have what they need and we take notes and all of that. So basically, you're saying we need to pay attention first to those behaviors
Mhm.
and first ask ourselves, are they really serving us, right? Because if
Yeah.
someone is in a service role, let's say you are in a support or service role, that's
Mhm.
actually a good thing, right? I mean, this is a
Yeah.
good behavior. I'm not saying like overwork yourself and stay always the last person, but
Yeah.
in general, the behaviors you mentioned may serve you well. But if you want
Mhm.
to be a
Mhm.
leader, for example, well, that's actually works against you. And then you have to rethink what kind of behaviors maybe do you want to adopt.
Yes. 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 I always say to women, especially in male dominated areas like you are in, care and mentor behind closed doors. I know this is our happy place, and please share all your loving and giving and caring with the people that you invite into your office. But when you're out there on the floor, you need, for your own career path, to pull a little bit back on those characteristics and show the strong leader that is a big player on the field.
I love it. Care and mentor behind closed doors. I love that.
Mhm.
And now let's talk about the behaviors. So, what kind of behaviors would I want to show if I am, want to be considered for leadership?
So, one of the most important behaviors, I think, is to be considered for leadership is that you have to appear, behave, and communicate like a leader long before you actually become a leader. You have to give others the opportunity to see the leadership potential in you long before you have the official title, the responsibility, the resources, the budget, right? I always say if you want to become the CEO of your company, you have to appear, behave, communicate like a CEO already today. The second principle I believe in is you have to lead by example. People are looking up to you 24/7, and that includes every single minute you lead within your organization, and truth to be told, also when you are outside of it. The moment you step into a leadership role, you are a leader 365 days around the clock. And I think many leaders forget about that. Even if they are out with their families, if they are in their communities, there are so many occasions, especially the bigger the organization is you work in, that you will meet people who work for that organization, that you will meet potential customers or clients, and that you still represent the brand, the organization, and that you are a leader around the clock.
That sounds tiring.
It is very tiring, but here's the thing. Very often in terms of leadership, I feel like authenticity has become one of the most overused words, and authenticity in the way it has been overused has become a lie. I do believe that we all play roles. I play a specific role as a mother to my children. I play a specific role as a wife to my husband. I play a specific role as a leader to my team, and I play a specific role as a speaker on stage. In all of those roles, I'm authentic, absolutely, but they have a different hue. There is a red thread, but I cannot talk to my husband the same way I talk with my clients. I cannot talk with my clients the same way I talk with my children. Right? So there are nuances that we all need to be aware of. And when we are in the role of being a leader in an organization, I think the worst advice somebody can give you when it comes to authenticity is to say, you just do you. Whatever you think, you just do you, because you represent yourself as a leader. You represent an organization as a leader, and you represent your team as a leader. And so your authenticity is somehow limited in that frame, in that role as a leader for that organization.
So, what I'm hearing from you, there's a certain facade you have to wear depending on where you're at, right? If you're in company and I want to be authentic, but I know that I am a leader or I want to be perceived as a leader, so I have to behave differently than I behave maybe with friends.
I wouldn't call it a facade.
Okay.
I would call it respect. I think it comes all down to respect. Respect to myself. The most important person in your career is not HR, is not your CEO, is not your client, is not your family member. It is you yourself. You have earned that position. You have earned that position with years of hard work, with your knowledge, with your experience, with the skills, with everything that you bring to the table. And in order to show your self-respect, I would do anything to acknowledge that for yourself. I would call it respect to your team members. They trust you. They have incredibly trust into you as a leader to represent yourself and them. They want to proudly say, I work for Limor. That's their wish, because she represents me in a way that I proudly say to my colleagues, to my clients, to everybody out there, that this is my leader, this is my boss. I would say it's respect to the organization that you represent. And I could go on and on with respect. And well, if you lose respect to any of those, you need to ask yourself, is this still the right team? Is this still the right organization? Am I still in the right position? Or is this the signal for the next move?
Gotcha. So you're saying basically, I respect myself, obviously. This is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to behave in a way that my team respects me and they sees me as their leader. The company respects me and they are proud that I am a leader in their company. So when I think about how I behave in my role, I want to think about how am I behaving that I'm respected. I respect myself as a leader. I'm being respected as a leader. Is that what you meant?
Yes, and I respect the company as well. I think it's a give and take in both sides.
Makes sense. Okay. Now, because we are running out of time, let's talk about digital footprint. What does it mean and how do you maintain the same level of perception also digitally?
So there are two components to your digital footprint, the intentional and the unintentional. The intentional is everything that you put out there about you. It is the emails that you send out every single day, which, by the way, can get forwarded and forwarded and forwarded, and you don't even know who creates a perception about you right now in their head based on an email that wasn't even intended to get into their inboxes. What do they find about you when they Google your name on page 1, or the images or the videos if they change the tabs? What do they find about you on social media, all the platforms where you have profiles on? What about virtual meetings? What about the forums? Every single digital breadcrumb that you leave behind. And nowadays, while there is social media one-on-one, most people already know what to post and what not to post. But what most people underestimate is the unintentional footprint, those things that we communicate in between the lines. We all have that one friend who constantly posts 7 times per day, and we wonder, do they even work, right? Or are they just on social media? Or that one friend where we don't even recognize them anymore because the outdated profile picture on LinkedIn is from 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
And where we know that if they would step into a room, it would be a total different person. Or that person that comments on a post 8 weeks after it actually happened, and we wonder, where have you been all this time? So there are those unintentional, in between the line messages that we send. And unfortunately, your digital impression has become the most important impression nowadays that you make. It's on the pole position, and it will determine nowadays if you are ever able to enter a room. Nowadays, and we have all done it, people just Google you, or people decide based on an email if they will ever meet you, or people decide after a virtual meeting if it's worth traveling and seeing you in person. So if you consider working on imprinting on somebody, a term like creativity or whatever we just discussed, I actually don't encourage you to start in your wardrobe or with your behavior. Start with your digital footprint, because it's out there right now. Right now, somebody could Google your name. And we put so much effort into crafting something with the focus on how much people are going to see it, how much people are going to like it. What we never consider is how much opportunities do we actually lose because what is out there? How many people do not call us? That's a KPI we can't measure, but it is.
So basically, Sylvie, what I'm hearing is you should Google, definitely you should Google yourself. And I do that on occasion, right? Because I want to see what comes up on the search. So Google yourself. And then ask
Absolutely.
yourself, when I see the first, second page of Google results, what do I think about this person? Do I like it? Do I like what I'm seeing or not?
I would Google myself, and please Google yourself in something called an incognito mode, which every single web browser offers. Because if you Google yourself just on your device, you get a very filtered version of what Google or whatever search engine you use wants to show you based on your search history. And then, yes, you will see what the world sees. And then the second thing I recommend you is you need to own your name on the internet. Sign up on every single platform. And why that? Because you never know if one day somebody like a celebrity with your name shows up and takes over your space with your name, and then you lose the opportunity to own your handles on platforms and your URL with your name. And to make things even worse, what if a person shows up with your name who is arrested because of a horrible thing they have done, and the media is full? People might not take the moment to, to differentiate you between you and, let's just say, a serial killer in the worst case. And it will take so much work for you then to create your own space on the web again. I'm not saying that you have to be active on every single platform, but you should at least own your name on every single platform. Forward all the emails to a free email account, ignore them, but own your name on the internet. And then, third, try to build up a reputation on the internet that best represents yourself by maybe having a great LinkedIn profile, by creating blog posts, or having an about page about yourself somewhere, things that you can control that we got to see when we search for you.
This is a wonderful tip. I think for me, I try to be on, kind of have a handle of on every social media. I think the only one I don't have is TikTok.
Then today, the first to do is to get your TikTok account, not with the goal to use it maybe, but just to own your name on
To
TikTok.
own my name. That's a wonderful tip. I'm going to do that.
Wonderful.
And the last one, environment. Before we end, tell us about that.
Yes. The environment is about the living and the non-living things you surround yourself. Let's start with the non-living one. Your office. What does it say about you? The car that you drive, the vacations you go on, all the things that we notice about you in your environment. But even more important, the humans in your environment, your friends, your colleagues, your family, your mentors. And they are so important from two perspectives. First, they reflect back on you, right? People take into consideration who you hang out with. But even more important, we all know how important it is to surround ourselves with great human beings. And I always say, if you live in a zip code of bad people, you have to move, because it will have an impact on your mental well-being, and your mental well-being is important for your career, and especially as a woman, and especially in an industry like yours, technology. We know how difficult it can be and how important it is that you are surrounded by people who support you, who cheer for you, who challenge you from time to time, but your environment counts more than you might think.
Wow, Sylvie, the sentence, if you live in a zip code of bad people, you have to move, absolutely, I think sums it up. I mean, this is incredible. This is so true. And absolutely be, more conscious. And I would say just sift out people that are not good for you. Because that will help you, and those people can bring you down if they're around you. Wow, this This has been fantastic talking with you, Sylvie. And before we go, tell our audience about you, what you do, and how they can find you.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate the question. I am a 3D immersive keynote speaker, so I have the great pleasure to serve audiences around the world. I turn my stages into a three-dimensional canvas with holographic technology, and I help them to lead better and sell faster and persuade instantly. And when you type in my name into any search engine, then my website should pop up and all my social media platforms. And if you connect with me on social media, then please say hello and tell me that you come from this wonderful podcast. So I know that Limor sent you my way. And all of my books, including the image of leadership for women and including the image of leadership in technology, are available on Amazon. And if you happen to purchase one of those copies, then please let me know too what you think. And Limor, it was such an incredible honor to be with you. I know you are doing fantastic work, but I'm also always extra excited if one woman helps other women to navigate this world. So thank you very much for all you do to empower other women.
Wow. And thank you, Sylvie. Thank you so much for being here today. It's been my honor and my pleasure. Thank you so much for listening to the episode with Sylvie. And before you go, I want to give you a sneak peek for the episode that we're going to have next week on From a Woman to a Leader. We tend to think that, and I used to think that a career is like a ladder. You only climb up. So I worked my entire career in software development, and I grew from a developer to a manager, to a senior manager, to a director of engineering. So basically it was like a vertical incline in my career, like climbing up the ladder. But what if your career path didn't have to be a ladder? I wish I knew that, because it can be something like, as my guest next week said, a jungle gym filled with side steps, bold moves, and new perspectives. And I'm super excited to share that next week I'm speaking with Adrienne McFertridge, and she is a global tech leader, a board director. She worked in engineering, she worked in product, she did a lot of roles in different companies. And she talked about why titles and team size, they don't define your success, and also how to find joy, impact, and confidence in unexpected career moves. So before you go, make sure you subscribe to From a Woman to a Leader channel and podcast so you never missed an episode. Share it with any woman you think can benefit from it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and keep growing this podcast and this community. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye.